Fantastic. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Ethan Bresnahan. I'm the Senior Marketing Director here at CyberSaint. We're incredibly excited to welcome Dr. Fortune Onwuzuruike today from Microsoft. Welcome, Fortune. Would you like to give us a bit of a bio before we dive into it?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Fortune Onwuzuruike. I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia. As he mentioned, I just actually recently got promoted to security manager here at Microsoft under the Microsoft AI division. Part-time college professor, sit on a few different advisory board around computer science, and do a lot of servant leader activities around the Metro Atlanta area.
Fantastic. So, welcome everyone to today's talk, leveraging AI tools and cyber risk and compliance, pitfalls to avoid and best practices to embrace. So, I'd like to kick things off, Fortune, by diving into the way that AI is solving some of the core problems facing cyber today. Can you give us
Yeah.
a few AI use cases for cyber that you're most excited about?
I think what I'm most excited about is just leveraging AI around spam and phishing. When you think about it, just to understand how different alerts are coming in through this systems, when you think about malicious content, different things that are just being embedded into it. But I think when you think about it from a spam and phishing standpoint, there's also a lot of different things around phishing protection. And the best use of AI to me is leveraging it for threat detections, when you think about threat and vulnerabilities that are coming into our systems, really understanding what that really entails and how that really helps our overall of our security posture and really trying to overcome these cybersecurity challenges. I think the most important thing that I would like to mention, from the top of my mind, when I think about these emerging threats and how we can leverage them to basically make better informed decisions, I think AI can be used as a leveraging tool to detect vulnerabilities that may not be able to detect if we didn't have it. So when you think about it from a different standpoint, I would say vulnerability management. From a vulnerability management standpoint, that's my favorite. Spam and phishing protection, and just overall, just really protecting our environment. But those are the first two things that jump in my mind when you think about use cases around AI.
So, with the emphasis on efficiency gains through automation I know many folks are concerned about artificial intelligence's impact on the market. What are your thoughts on the implications for the cybersecurity job market in AI?
Man, that's an excellent question, Ethan. We hear all the time, right? Everyone, like we hear all the time, and if you're a security professional or you're just in technology, you hear all the time about, oh my God, AI is going to take our jobs, or
Mhm.
robots are going to take over the world, or you know, are we even going to need any human interaction or humans behind the computer anymore if we just have everything on? And my question and my answer to everybody that says that is, I personally don't want a robot doing surgery on me. That's just a prime example of what the crazy things that we hearing. But I mean, it's advancing. I mean, when I go to these different airports that are outside the country of the United States, you'll see them doing different things, interacting, getting your food. So we are in a new age where AI is advancing, robotics is advancing, but let's still not forget the human aspect of things. Let's still not forget the maintenance of AI or these robotics. Let's not forget about the parameters that we need to set. There's our parameters. There are security things that need to set. Let's not forget about the different parameters that we need to set in terms of the efficiency or the use or the off-peak hours or the on-peak hours, the data that it maintains, the data that's being ingested, what's being transmitted. Let's not forget about that. I think some really cool things that I see in my day job is when I'm reviewing different cases around Bing Copilot, right? I'm a part of the Microsoft AI team where Bing sits under Copilot is integrated with Bing. I mean, there's so many crazy things that we are asking AI to tell us about, like how to set off a bomb. I mean, like you'll be surprised. Just to give me prime examples of different things. But that's where security professionals, that's where AI analysts or technologists come into play, and we set those parameters. We set the do's and don'ts. We set the limitations of what can be done and the maintenance behind that. So my answer to answer your question, I know I rambled a lot because I'm just very passionate about the aspect of, yeah, AI is, I don't think AI is going to replace your job, but if you don't use AI, you will be left behind.
I've heard it said that what's the emerging adage? I guess it's not established enough to call it an adage yet, but what is it? AI isn't going to replace your job, but someone who knows how to use it might.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's a better way to put it. Someone who knows how to use AI probably will know how to replace your jobs, or someone who's friends with AI or know how to leverage it to their best advantages will end up
Hmm.
replacing you.
So to expand on that, you kind of touched on this aspects of the human element. The way AI is augmenting rather than replacing certainly speaks to that. So to look at the other end of the leadership ladder, how would you encourage security leaders specifically to think about AI and what expectations can they have regarding its impact?
Yeah, so security leaders, obviously become familiar with AI, understand how we can leverage it from a business standpoint, understand how it can increase the things that you need your business for it to increase. So if it's leveraging AI for customer service and using it for customer service to have better efficiencies and being better effective in reducing, actual burnout of human effort, then yeah, you probably want to use it for automated conversation or automated phone call. That's just one case scenario. Another case scenario is using it to, draft plans or using it to process data and forecast trends. I think when I use AI, I use it almost like a brainstorming tool, right? It
Mm,
thinks about things that obviously my mind can only think about so much. My mind has a scope of so much, but AI has a bigger scope. And you take the good things from AI and you put it together and you plan your vision as a security leader or how you want to leverage that and what you want to go forward to. So even from a security standpoint, yeah, you can use it as a visionary tool, as a brainstorming tool, or even from a business leader standpoint, if you want to talk about it from business, you can leverage it to increase customer service, increase productivity, increase financial reports, and increase your financial, I guess, upkeep, like increase your finances. There's different things that you can use AI for from a business standpoint and also from a security standpoint. And those are just some of the few things that jumped up my face
right.
from the get-go.
And something that really I think speaks to the way that to consider how AI is an impact is that it's touching multiple steps along the way, but one, those steps may not be in sequence. And two, the other the aspect of kind of considering how that again going back to it's an augmentation tool, it's not a replacement, right? And
Yeah,
that's what you were saying that
it's a
it's
brainstorming tool here.
maybe 3 to 5 steps in an 8-step process, but it doesn't replace the person that's doing the other 3 to 4. So with that, looking at those kind of core AI use cases for cyber that we touched on in the beginning, how did marrying those two concepts, looking at the impact of augmentation as opposed to replacement, how should security leaders kind of consider the vulnerability management that you were talking about earlier, and how should they be thinking about integrating AI into those workflows and kind of again augmenting their teams using AI?
I think we already do some of that in today's world. I look at it from like a behavior analytics standpoint. The data that's actually being fed into the AI software, using that from a intelligence standpoint, threat intelligence, vulnerabilities, looking at it from a scoring standpoint, flagging what is malicious. It could be damaging and critical to your organization. So I'll look at it almost like feeding the data on, you're basically almost like building a bot. I look at it like building like a vulnerability management bot and feeding the data and intelligence on it and
Right.
letting it not only is this malicious, how do we remediate it? What are the steps for remediation, step by step? Can you provide me detailed information? Can you provide me screenshots? In the world of AI, if you haven't noticed now, the thing that's a little weak now is that AI is starting, but we're not there yet, starting to produce videos. Like when you tell AI something, give me a video, we're
Yep.
almost there. And within the next year or two, I think it will be very, I think it will be very important to understand
Mhm.
just from an intelligence standpoint, what's malicious, what's not, and also from a remediation standpoint, give me the steps on how to remediate the vulnerabilities, and then going
Mhm.
from there.
Right. And especially kind of those more, I would call them, whether you want to call it fine tuning or whether you want to call it more bespoke, specialized
Yeah.
models, looking at, and CyberSaint actually just launched a feature that does just that as far as kind of giving those remediation plans where you're kind of stacking that. You're making that interaction that much easier by putting it in natural language to that point. And that's kind of where we're seeing a lot of the impact of LLMs, right? It's more so in the communication than it is just in the actual kind of analysis end of it.
Yeah, it would be really nice. I haven't seen it done, so please, I'm also learning here. It'll be really nice, like I was mentioning. Let's take a step further.
Mm,
Don't show me screenshots. Like, do you AI can when you ask AI how to remediate vulnerability, how do you remediate it? Do you have a sample? Walk me through that visually through a video. That'll be
mm,
a really nice ad.
right?
into our environment. I haven't seen it yet, but I think, people like dev owners or engineers who are struggling with remediation or, may not be the most technical or whatever the case may be, or, patches that are released and the documentation may not be as clear,
Mhm.
day-to-day things that we see in our workforce. It'll be nice to have a video that spit back out to you like, hey, these are the steps and hey, and like click here and do this and run this script, whatever the case may be. I think that would be really nice.
So, question from the audience that I think fits well into this tangent that we're on here is, can you speak to the nature of hallucination and how that kind of how to one consider that as part of the risk profile in implementing these tools, but also where is again from a from a Microsoft perspective, where how can users kind of account for that as they're considering the implementation process?
Man, that's a really good question. And I know I mentioned earlier how I work on the Bing team, Microsoft AI, and Bing is integrated with Copilot, and I'm on the security team, obviously. So I
Mhm.
actually sit on call 24/7, probably about 6 or 7 weeks out the year, and I see a lot of hallucination case. My team sees a whole lot of hallucination case,
Mhm.
and you'll be surprised how they are trying to almost try poke holes to try and get what they're
Right.
trying to get. I'm looking for the word that I'm trying. Like hallucinate is one word, but almost try to leverage the system to outsmart it, to give it data or information that shouldn't be given, which is
Sure.
hallucination. I think the best thing to do is repro, which is uh, trying to repo, try and see where the loopholes are. Pen testing is also a great way. Our pen testing team does a great job on trying to find those loopholes and those advantages. So I would say try and repro the steps yourself. Try and see where the gaps lie. Using your penetration team to try to figure out where the gaps lie and try to remediate those gaps, and then going from there.
So I want to kind of keep mining this topic for a minute here. Obviously, you kind of have the hallucination component that's more of a internal risk to the model, if you will. But then you kind of look at the other side of that, where from an attack perspective, manipulating the model from the outside in, right? Where if you can't track the way that the model is generating its output, you can't necessarily say, oh, this was an internally generated hallucination versus that. So where we're at right now, as far as the maturity of the technology, what is your, if you had to kind of stack rank those two, what should folks be looking more closely at? Is it kind of the impact of hallucinations and whether or not to use that information in the decision-making process? Again, risk to the hallucination component, or, is the bigger risk around securing the model itself, if again, if you're whether you're the one building it or whether you're outsourcing it,
Mm.
and to account for the risk relative to external threat actors manipulating the model itself. I guess you could call it a external versus internal hallucination, if you will.
That's a great question. Mm, they're both very important. They're both very high priority. I guess it depends, but I guess it depends on which way. I mean, internal, but I almost want to say external.
Mhm.
My rationale behind that is, although insider threats or internal threats can be just as dangerous as external, I would say both of them. That's my first answer. Both of them are just as important.
Mhm.
But diving into the external piece a little bit, I'm not a privacy expert,
Sure.
but the most important thing to our organization, or the most important thing to any organization, is the customers we serve, the people that we serve.
Mhm.
And think about that from an external standpoint. Data privacy starts to become a thing, sensitive data. So the damage that can be done internally, which can be, somebody can make the same argument that an insider threat can have that too, which is why I think they're both the same level of priority. But the damage that I just want to dive into, that the damage that can be done from an external malicious attacker can be severe. We lose the trust of our organization. You lose your reputation and the trust of your customers. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Financial loss, reputational loss, as I just mentioned. So I would say I would lean more towards the external side.
Gotcha. So I want to kind of start to bring this all together. So looking more closely at these implications, there's obviously a great deal of concern around the risks that AI can bring, as we just discussed. Can you, outside of kind of this external internal hallucination component, what are your top three risks that AI pose to an organization considering implementing it? Kind of start there, and we'll see where we go.
Top three risk in terms of just general organizational.
Organizational risk and kind of you could probably say the negative implications. We spent a lot of time talking about the efficiency gains, the productivity impacts, but what's kind of what's the flip side of that coin?
I mentioned a little bit of it, but the first thing I didn't mention is, with AI, sophisticated attacks.
Mhm.
It just gets more and more smarter. Things get more smart.
Mhm.
The malicious attacker get more clever, and they really leverage AI to their advantage. The second thing I mentioned earlier is the privacy, the data part. Sensitive data, whether if you're in healthcare, I have a healthcare background, whether if it's like PHI or your personal information, which is PII, wherever the case may be, the data aspect of it. And last but not least, uh, and I mean last but not least, and that's in no particular order,
Sure.
skill shortage.
Mhm.
Skill shortage is always going to be a big thing. There's some devs and there's some engineers, there's some professionals that are still stuck in their way or stuck in what used to work.
Sure.
Trying to do things or try to do their workflow like how they've been doing for years, and it's hard to break those habits. They don't
Mhm.
really want to get down with the new thing, and some of them want to get down with the new thing, which the new thing is AI in this case, and they don't know where to start. They don't have a starting point. They don't know what certification is going to give them the basic foundation knowledge, or what experience is going to give them the basic foundation knowledge, or where the gaps lie. So skill shortage will probably be the last but not least challenges that we see here in our field.
And so I have a question from the audience that's going to dovetail well with one of your answers, but I want to talk about the skill shortage really quick. In
Sure.
the vein of, again, kind of the intersection of AI and security, what are your recommendations around develop? Obviously, we're talking about two very small talent pools as far as both cybersecurity and AI. To what extent should security practitioners be considering layering in AI technical knowledge to their skill set? And how should they be thinking about AI relative to their skill set? Should they be considering it from a user perspective? Should they be considering it from a technical implementation perspective? How would you recommend that most security practitioners approach the AI wave?
Hmm. Good question. So if I'm starting all over and trying to start my journey, I probably approach it from a technical perspective, but keep
Mhm.
in mind the holistic aspect of it being user. But I would say technical perspective, and there's a lot of different things that could be there. Of course, the hands-on experience, there's different courses or boot camps around AI, especially Microsoft
Mhm.
AI. I would be remiss if I didn't announce this Microsoft AI 900, which is a great certification, a
Awesome.
foundation certification, really sharpen your tools around that. So I would say I would be approaching it from a technical standpoint. I mentioned earlier the parameters, the maintenance around that,
Right.
what it entails. I mean, you have, Copilot, which is Microsoft. You have Google with their AI. You have different competitors all coming out with their own product. ChatGPT. I mean, you have so many different things. OpenAI. There's so
Mhm.
many things that are just taking over, and everybody's just trying to get that leverage.
Right.
They're the internet and the search leverage. There's a winner in that. The mobile phone
Mhm.
leverage. Mobile phones and mobile devices. There's a winner in there. But for AI, that's still determined. I would like to say Microsoft is probably leading the forefront there. That's just my personal opinion.
Right.
But
Not,
I think, huh?
not that you're biased.
Yeah, but I'm biased, I think overall, from a technical standpoint, if you're a cybersecurity professional, understanding the technical acumen, the depth of what that really entails, and how that is actually a part of that. Even me myself, I'm still trying to learn some of the technical side of AI. I don't have it all together, but I think the foundation knowledge is there, and then you just keep diving into what you need to dive into to become more of an expert or subject matter expert.
Totally. So I want to pull in a question from the audience here around cybersecurity products. So many cyber products are relying on behavioral analysis using AI to detect malicious activity. Is that a sustainable approach given that one miss of a legit attack, sorry,
And can you repeat
one
that
miss
question
of a
one more
legit
time?
attack by a heuristic approach is too many?
Can you repeat that question one more time?
So essentially, I think the question is that given basically in order to get the you only need one attack to work, right?
Of course.
And so that many cyber products are relying on behavioral analysis using AI to detect malicious activity. So I think essentially, as far as it's picking up on the trend of basically using that malicious activity to train the model on what's good versus bad behavior. What is the So it is using AI for behavioral analysis a sustainable approach?
I would say so. Uh, I
Mhm.
mean, what else could we go? I mean, there's also other things, but what would be more promising than the data that we have and the trends and the patterns and the analytics that we have to flag things that may be something that we need to look into as security professionals, or our incident response team needs to dive a little bit deeper. I would
Mhm.
say that's the starting point. Is it the end all be all? Probably not. Is it sustainable? I think it's sustainable enough for us to do our due diligence and get through what we need to get through, which is our review process of the malicious attack or whatever's being flagged from our system. So I think that's a
Right.
good start.
It's an augmentation, right? It doesn't replace the human review. It just helps surface what are the key data points to look at.
It's efficient, it's effective, time, reduce human burnout, security professional burnout. We hear about that all the time. So I think it's good. I think it's a good placeholder for now.
So when we look at the organizations balancing risk and embracing AI and deciding to move forward to the implementation, what are your top three to five recommendations that you have for mitigating the risks that we just discussed?
Mitigating risk for what we discussed in terms of
As far as bringing AI into your organization, what are your top three kind of AI risk mitigations that organizations should be considering from a security perspective?
um, top three, regular audits.
Mm.
I think regular audits is good just to test our that we're doing what we're doing, who has access to what. I think regular audits and just really around that. Of course, employee training and awareness. I think that's also always like a give me a rundown. Those are two, and I don't know what my third one would be. I'll stop with those two for right now, but maybe access control from standpoint. That's
Mhm.
just on top of my mind, but I would say regular audits, employee training awareness, and I'm just going to throw that third one because I'm going blank. It'll be robust access control.
How do you see the kind of the new risk management frameworks that are coming out from like the NIST AI risk management framework that's emerging? What are your thoughts on kind of these new frameworks that are designed for kind of the LLM age that we're in?
I still think they need some work.
Mm.
I still think there's some gaps there around AI. I mean, of course, there's different components that could be fitting, like access control, identity, the pillar, the protect, the instant response plan. Do we have a plan that if things go left or bad, is that really well versed? I mean, there's different pillars there, but when it's truly, this is always a good tool. It's always a good foundation tool, even when
Mhm.
you think about it from a HIPAA standpoint or PCI, wherever the case may be. I mean, it's a good leveraging tool. But when we say focus on truly on I think there could be it could be some additional things that are added there, but I think the foundation knowledge and the foundation level from identity, detect, protect, response, recover, I think all that's there. But I still feel like it lacks being tweaked towards AI, me personally.
So last question, I think this is a great question to end on. What are some of the ways that, and so I know we started with this, but I think a good thing to reiterate as we wrap up here. What are some of the ways AI can help in automating the cybersecurity work streams as far as from an automation perspective specifically? You had mentioned, we had talked about behavioral analytics surfacing some key trends. We'd also kind of touched on the kind of emergence of these mitigation plans, things like CyberSaint's night vision that kind of help guide the mitigation process as well. But any other kind of parting thoughts here around the ways that AI can automate cybersecurity work streams?
Mm, mm, uh, I believe AI can use that from a source of truth standpoint, maybe.
Mm,
Um, when it comes down to maybe a component for vulnerability management. This is a small example.
sure.
Asset inventory for vulnerability management
Mhm.
is huge and it's a huge gap. We can't start until we know who owns what, who's over what device is this? Is it this type of OS compared to this type of OS.
Right.
Uh, so I think from an asset inventory standpoint and from a dictionary, from a cybersecurity dictionary standpoint, it could be
Mhm.
leveraged for that. I think that would be really robust um, and efficient and really quick for us to spit out the information like, hey, what subscription owner is this? Or what device is this? Who's the owner of this? Who's the business owner of this? Where does this filter to? What business group does this belong to? I think that could be a really good standpoint for AI. But I'm pretty sure you'll be surprised a lot of organizations aren't doing that. But I think that would be a really good tool to ingest the asset inventory from that perspective.
And there's something to be said to that point, but also kind of from a broader perspective around the objectivity that AI can offer, right? We, there's, a host of kind of limitations the human brain has, novelty bias being one of them,
Yeah.
that will prioritize the newer thing as opposed to the thing that matters the most, whereas AI doesn't necessarily have that problem. So to that end, when it comes to whether you're talking about asset discovery, whether you're talking about risk to mitigation plans, all of those things benefit from that more objective lens that doesn't rely on, oh, this is the newest thing, so we have to do this first, as opposed to getting multi-factor included.
Yeah.
Or, those kind of more table stakes things that you may not think about, but at the same time, whether it's a model would be able to surface that and be able to say, this is, you should be doing this. Don't pay attention to the flashy endpoint product that you just paid attention that you just purchased. But do the table stakes first.
Yeah, for sure. I just laughed. Someone said, "How about automating PowerPoints?" I mean, yeah, it could be used for automating PowerPoints, business proposals, whatever the case may be, strategies. But from a cybersecurity standpoint, I definitely recommend some of the stuff: behavior analytics, vulnerability management, phishing, asset inventory, source of truth. All
Mhm.
those things could be leveraged. And I think if you're not leveraging it right now in your organization, I think this is a great time to start doing that.
Fantastic. Well, appreciate the time, Fortune. This was a fantastic discussion, and appreciate all the audience participation in this one. That was fantastic. Any parting thoughts as we wrap up here?
Yeah, I think the key thing that stuck out to me, I think all the questions were great. But I really want to harp on like, hey, if you're not an expert in AI, you may not have to be an expert, but these jobs, the way everything's going on, the way these organizations and these companies are going in the direction of AI. Remember, I mentioned the search internet already has a clear winner. If you don't know, I'm not gonna say any names. The mobile already has a clear winner. If you don't already know, these companies have missed this gap. Every company right now is trying, even VR. There's probably a clear winner there at VR, and that was just a couple of years ago where it started to become a big thing. I think the key thing right now is who's a clear winner for AI, who's going to be the clear winner, who can learn as much about AI from a technical standpoint, user standpoint, holistically. Don't be afraid to use it because it's only going to be to your advantage because everybody's trying to see who's going to be that number one spot. And also, that's from a business standpoint. And the best thing you could do is really just sharpen your toolbox to try and get as much as knowledge as possible so you can be dangerous or stay dangerous.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much for the time today, Fortune, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.